Indonesia is the world's most populous Muslim country. It's got almost 205 million Muslims living there. According to one 2009 poll, it showed almost 50% of Indonesians actually support strict Sharia law, not just in Indonesia, but in a lot of countries. And 70% blamed the United States, Israel, or somebody else for 9/11. So you make that calculation, it's about 143 million people who are radicalized. You scared yet? We're just getting started.
Yeah, he's just getting started, and we're going to give him a chance to continue. Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of Truth Revolt, editor-at-large Breitbart News, and New York Times bestselling author of The People versus Barack Obama, the criminal case against the Obama administration. Hello, Ben.
Hey, how are you?
Before we get to all that, you talk about the criminal case against the Obama administration, the breaking news tomorrow night, a primetime address from the president outlining his executive order on immigration. What should the Republicans do?
How exciting. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to President Snow's explanation of how he is going to rule us all. It is incredible. What the Republicans are going to have to do is they're going to have to go along with the short-term continuing resolution until they get control of the Senate, and then they'll go through the normal budget process and they'll just strip all the funding. I mean, instead of having these big omnibus budget battles, what they should do is they should just pass a budget for the Defense Department and have Obama either sign it or veto it, have them pass a budget for the EPA and have Obama sign it or veto it. And then when they've done all of this, then they can get to the Department of Homeland Security. And then if they shut down the Department of Homeland Security, I'm not sure that anybody cares, considering that emergency services for DHS include anything national security oriented. So that is what they're going to have to do. I think that's the strategy they will pursue, aside from, of course, a lawsuit, which will take its time to wend its way through the legal system.
Yeah, with Jonathan Turley as the lead legal spokesperson for that. That's going to be interesting. All right, let's talk about yesterday's butchering. Two items here. Your piece at Breitbart.com, yes, Islam is at war with the West. I want to talk about that. But first, the reaction of the president, sitting there in his office calmly, talking about, making a moral equivocation, how both sides and escalation and too many Palestinians have died also. 3 American rabbis conducting services in a synagogue were hacked to death with meat cleavers. And this is as much anger, which was none, that he could rev up.
The fact is that the President of the United States is a morally bereft man. I mean, that's the only way to put it. He has no morality. To equate the people who were hacked to death in a synagogue while praying to their God to the people who did the hacking is astonishing. I mean, and again, it just goes to show that, as I've said and have been taken hits for saying, this is a president and this is an administration that is Jew-hating. There's no other way to explain this. This is the same president who said that ISIS understands only the language of force, but when it comes to Palestinians who hack rabbis to death in the middle of prayer services, well, then Israel should just negotiate, and this is a spiral of violence. This is not a spiral of violence. The whole rationale for this particular hacking is that Jews want to pray on the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism.
Right.
Apparently, that is not allowed by the Islamic Waqf, because Islam is, they'll request prayers inside the National Cathedral, but for Jews to pray in a Jewish site, that means that Jews in another Jewish site have to be hacked to death. It's astonishing, disgusting, and the fact that the President of the United States continues to pursue this moral equivalence demonstrates just what a lack of morality he has.
Yep, and to your piece, Islam at war with the West, the statistics you gave and what part we heard, and you go on to give further statistics, and to see the children and the Palestinian people celebrating in the streets yesterday by handing out candy and making their calls, their voices like they do at weddings, it makes you want to vomit.
Well, it does make you want to vomit, and then it makes you want to kill all the terrorist leaders. And unfortunately, the West has decided that's something Israel cannot do because Israel is full of Jews. And that's the one area of life where we can at least not pretend that we care about terrorism. When the Yazidis are being slaughtered on Mount Sinjar, then President Obama will pretend to care. President Obama even said he would put boots on the ground in order to fight ISIS if ISIS were to gain a nuclear weapon.
Right.
At the exact same time that the President of the United States is saying that, he is currently negotiating a nuclear deal that will end with Iran with nuclear weapons, and Iran has said it wants to annihilate the Jews. What's the difference between ISIS and Iran? For purposes of Western civilization, there isn't much, but for President Obama, apparently there is a distinction. Iran is targeting the Jews while ISIS is targeting non-Jews, and I guess that makes a big difference to him.
No, that's a brilliant point. I wish we had more time, Ben. Everybody check out at Truth Revolt and also at Breitbart and read Ben's also his piece that the death panels are coming. Another lack of transparency that Mr. Gruber has talked about, that is included in the Obamacare with the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force, which many people have been talking about for a long time. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right, folks. We want to hear from you. Should President Obama give amnesty to illegals? Go to newsmax.com/poll.